Okay, so today I'm going to do my talk on deep questions and cognitive equilibrium, which follows on. This isn't my blog from last week, but it's the last marked blog we've had, and it follows on quite nicely from the one I did previous to on the testing effect, which I mentioned that the type of exam could affect the outcome of the grades. So, like I said, this week loosely links into that blog, but I will focus more on deep questioning and how that can promote deep thinking. And then I'll go on and talk about cognitive disequilibrium, and I'll conclude on my opinion. So deep questions are questions like why, how, and what if. And they require deeper thinking, and so in theory they require deeper explanations as well. So it's thought that deep questions promote deeper comprehension, as more information is required in order to produce the elaborate answers which are expected of these type of questions. And in my blog I compared this to shallow questions, which are questions like when and who, which are more questions to fill in the gaps and don't require too much thinking. So one of the experiments I focused on was by Craig, Sullins, Witherspoon and Golshan in 2006, and they conducted 2 experiments with undergraduates in which there was 4 experimental conditions which were non-interactive, which students listened to a recording and it was just a normal recording, and then the second one was a similar recording of a dialogue where deep level reasoning was associated with each sentence. In the third condition, the deep level reasoning was only associated with half of the sentences, and then in the final condition they just listened to a monologue. So they found that in the second condition, where deep level reasoning was associated with every sentence, that there was greater learning, and these students performed significantly better than those in the other conditions. So they concluded that deep questions can in fact improve learning. So another one by, I don't know how you say that name, Gracer and Person, I assume, in 1944, compared students that were in tutoring sessions, so they were smaller groups, compared to in a normal, conventional classroom setting. And they found that there was more questions asked by students in the tutoring sessions compared to in the classroom sessions. But they found that it wasn't the quantity of the questions that students asked which led to higher achievement, it was the quality of the questions they asked. And they suggested that these type of questions were asked to repair knowledge deficits, but they suggest training is needed to become efficient in this skill. So I'll link this now with cognitive disequilibrium. Gracer and Auld in 2003 suggested that cognitive disequilibrium occurs when there's contradictory information in a passage or whatever they're listening to, anomalies in the passage, so information missing, or if a student feels uncertain about the information, and that triggers this cognitive disequilibrium. So when this occurs and a student feels that they don't understand what's going on, they're likely to engage in deep reasoning to attempt to restore the cognitive balance and to understand what's going on. So Gracer and, someone say that, I don't know, in 1933, tested whether anomalies in text trigger questions and trigger more questions. So they had conditions where there was either a full text, there was information added to a text or there was information removed. And they found that when there was a deletion of information, that more questions were asked. Grace Renauld in 2003 also conducted an experiment where they had a scenario of breakdown. So the learner would read about, say, a key, a lock and a key, and they would be given a breakdown scenario such as the key turns in the lock but it doesn't move. And so the learners were told to think aloud as they were looking at this scenario and show what they were thinking about, and to ask questions to themselves to be able to understand the scenario better. They did a comprehension test at the end, and those who comprehended the scenario well did not ask more questions, but the quality of the questions was better. So a couple of the last experiments I've spoke about suggest that it's not that we need to ask more questions to be able to understand and restore this balance, but to think of better questions and have a deeper understanding to be able to ask the deeper questions. So to conclude, I believe that linking the two concepts of deep questions and cognitive disequilibrium would enhance our learning experience, and a combination of these should be incorporated into our education system to enhance our thinking and problem-solving skills. And I think that education should aim to challenge students to promote the deep level reasoning that I've mentioned, and to help improve these skills so they can be adapted throughout different subjects and can be used as a universal tool to improve our learning. Because I think that if we could get a combination of the two, then we could be able to understand more, but also we could ask each other questions and enable us to have a deeper comprehension of the material. So, thank you. Any questions? Apart from Jess?
I suppose you're only interested in deep questions.
No. Don't ask me any deep questions.
I do have a question, more for everybody than just for you, but
okay.
for you as well. You said there that, that we should end up in situations that challenge us, especially when we're trying to learn.
Yeah.
I was in a discussion yesterday with a bunch of other lecturers, and there's a feeling that we do a very good job of challenging you all the time, and that you're always stretched just to an optimal amount, and that patients
I think sometimes we are challenged to the right level, but like in one of my modules, I won't say which one, I can't stand it. Not this one. I can't stand it, and I don't know whether it's just because it's not my way of learning or it's not something I particularly like. Now turned around and is listening. Now I've lost my trail of thought. Yeah, I don't think it's the way I particularly like to learn, but then I think there's other modules that don't challenge us enough, and it's just like do this, do that, and you'll get the grade and it'll be fine. So, I don't know, I think maybe it depends as the way the module is. What's the one?
structured.
That's the one. Yeah.
University challenges us with regards to giving us loads of work to do in a short amount of time. But I don't feel like I'm being pushed or I could achieve.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, because sometimes you get like, loads of deadlines and you're like always working, but some of it can... No, I actually quite like this module. I don't mind doing blogs. Yeah, but there's even more in my other module. And it's like there's like so much that you don't actually get the time to be able to look at it and understand it to that deeper level, to be able to then use that information. You're just picking up the bare bones to be able to get what you want from it.
You don't often get science,
No.
things that benefit you and help you enhance yourself.
You know, because
I'm sorry.
From this module,
Yeah, of course.
no, but you know, when you hear lecturers talking to each other, they have a completely different view of it. You're constantly challenged. You constantly have this cognitive work that you're trying to accomplish.
Should we just leave it there?
Yeah,
we won't we won't say any more.